Good afternoon and good morning, everyone. So I wanted to go over this topic very briefly here because I think it's very important that we understand the difference of these things, ladies and gentlemen. And the reason why I'm doing these videos now on my financial channel, because we understand that politics, news, we talk about race, discrimination, all this really boils down to money. That's why it's a very important topic that we must go over and over again. So we are most informed and intelligent about the way we go about things. Whether it be you're voting, you're marching, you're protesting, it doesn't matter. Okay, so let me share something with you guys. And I'm gonna break down a couple of things, so please stay with me because this is gonna be a teaching lesson that I want you to come to your own conclusion about, okay? So let me share my screen with you and let me get started here. All right, so first and foremost, ladies and gentlemen, let's define the term minority. What is a minority in the United States of America? Okay, it says the term minority usually refers to four major racial and ethnic groups: African Americans, American Indians, and Alaskan Natives, Asian and Pacific Islanders, and Hispanics, non-white Hispanics. This transformation of America's racial and ethnic profile is most visible in certain states and communities. Okay, so we know what a minority is. Take that all in. Okay, your American Indians, your American Native, your Native Americans. I don't know why they said American Indians. Your foundational Black Americans, African Americans, Alaskan Natives, Asian and Pacific Islanders, and Hispanics. Okay, so we know what a minority is in the United States of America. Let's go over to people of color. And this information is coming from the Center for American Progress about 2050, talking about the demographics based upon the numbers. Now, we're going to get into some other information because I'm trying to break this down and we're going to start moving here. We're going to start moving. So again, this is their progression of what people of color are. By 2044, the majority of the US population will be people of color. Okay, will be people of color. So who are people of color? Now we're going to go by percentages. Whites will make up 49.7% of the population. This is by 2044, followed by Latinos at 25%, because right now Latinos are at 16%. African Americans at 12.7%. I guess our population is going to decline because roughly we're around 13.4, 13.6. Asians at 7.9. And 3.7% of the population will identify as multiracial. So there's going to be a lot of Black and white, Black and Asian, white and Asian, Hispanic and Black, Hispanic and Asian. Everybody's mixing. So multiracial. So 3% of the population is going to identify as that. But here are your people of color. Okay, so the exception of white, Latinos, African American, Asians, and then multiracial are essentially your people of color. So now that we know the difference between minorities, people of color, let's look up immigrants. And we understand that people who migrate to a different country. So let's define the word immigrant. Come to live permanently in a foreign country. That's it. You're an immigrant. You're an immigrant from another country. You was not foundationally here. You're not a descendant of this country. When the country was first started, when the United States of America first started, if your ancestry or you're not a descendant of an ancestor, you are an immigrant. So we understand immigrant, we understand people of color, and we understand what a minority is. Minorities are anyone non-white, okay? A people of color is anyone non-white. Now consider it with the word minority. It's a very double-sided word because in America, believe it or not, they also consider white women a minority, but they do not consider them people of color, but they do consider them a minority. Okay, so minority, people of color, and immigrants. We got it. Now, let's break this down when it comes to the U.S. Census Bureau. Race and origin. Right now, supposedly as of, 2019, the population of white people, white alone, is 76.3%. Black or African American, 13.4%. Hispanic or Latino, 18.5%. And white alone, not Hispanic or Latino, 60%. Okay, but we understand that Latinos are 18.5, African Americans are 13.4, your native Hawaiian or Pacific Islanders are 0.2, your Asians are 5.9, and your white alone, not including your white alone. This includes, though, I want you to understand this very, very clearly. When they say 76.3, they're talking about white, and they're talking about white Hispanics as well. People from Spain, people who are really that white skin tone that consider themselves white, like North Africans and the Arabs, white. Believe it or not, if I go to IDES.gov, they consider Arabian people of Arab countries white. They consider Spaniards and anyone from European descent white. So that's that number you get. But when you come down, you say white alone, not Hispanic or Latinos. The reason why they do that, it decreases down to 60%. And that's that 16% that you see right here that's added 2.5 inflation. Got it. So we understand all these numbers. Why am I telling you all of this? Why am I telling you guys all of this? You're trying to say, why are you breaking this down? Why are you saying all these things? Because I'm about to show you some information to show you how politics and news undermine foundational Black Americans. This is very interesting. This is very interesting. Let me share this with you, okay? Now that we have all those terminologies, let's look at this. A brief history of slavery and the origins of American policing. Now, this guy, Victor E. Kapler, PhD, is well known around the police community and education. Very, very well known, very intelligent guy, okay? But did he do this unknowingly or did he do this skillfully? And I'm gonna tell you why. I love my Control F button. Let me Control F some things over here. Let's look up the word minorities. And let's just see how these words fall inside this publication. The birth and development of the American police can be traced. Let me blow this up for you guys. I know you guys love to see what I'm looking at. Of American police can be traced to a multitude of historical, legal, and political economic conditions. The institution of slavery and the control of minorities. The institution of slavery and control of minorities. So Asians, Hispanics, Native Americans, Pacific Islanders were in chattel slavery in America. Okay. However, were two or more formidable historic features of American society shaping early policing, slave patrols and night watches later became modern police departments, were both designed to control the behaviors of minorities. Was minorities in? This is how news undermine foundational Black Americans. And we're getting somewhere. Please stay with this. Is good. Believe me. I'm not bringing you no bull jive here. I just want to move on. Because vigilantes, by definition, have no external, I'm right here, restraint. Lynch mob had a justified reputation for hanging minorities. When did Hispanics get hung? When did Asians get hung? I'm not saying they didn't ever get hung. I'm saying during slavery, because we understand that this is the legacy of slavery and racism did not end after the Civil War. Who are they talking about? This is not American history. Okay. Lynch mobs had a justified reputation for hanging minorities first and asking questions later. Because of its traditional slavery, which rested on the racist rationalizing that Blacks were subhuman. Again, minorities and Blacks are not simonians. They're not interchangeable. They're not. We understood what a minority is, correct? If you're just tuning in, please rewind the tape, scroll back the video, and I broke down what a minority is according to our government, according to our national publicists, okay? But Blacks were subhuman, but minorities. Okay, let's move on. Though having white skin did not prevent discrimination in America, being white undoubtedly made it easier for ethnic minorities to assimilate into the mainstream of America. Okay. So now, a brief history of slavery and the origins of American policing. Tell me, when did Native Hawaiians go through slavery in America before the Civil War, and then after the Civil War, Jim Crow? I'm just asking the question. Let me move on. I don't want to stay there because I want to break something else down. Let's wait till this come in, because I want to drive home this narrative of what a minority is. Some people just think minority means black. No, it does not. And these politicians and these news agencies and these educators, they know this. This is coming from minorityrights.org. Minorities and indigenous people, main languages, English, Spanish, and other languages. Okay, there's some black people who know Spanish. Main religions, Christianity, Judaism, and Islam. So, Hispanics, 16.3% of the population. Blacks, 13.6% of the population. Asians, 5.6%. Native Americans, 1.7% Native Hawaiians and other Pacific Islanders. Arab and other Middle Easterners. Wait a minute. So these are the minorities. I don't see white people. These are the minorities. But again, I go back here to prove a point. A brief history of slavery and the origins of American policing. The institution of slavery and control of minorities. Or was this black people, African American? I don't know, because I just saw minorities is plural. Minority is talking about more than one group of people. And if I go back here, ladies and gentlemen, tell me when Asian Americans went through slavery in America. Tell me when Asian Americans went through chattel slavery in America. Tell me. Tell me when Native Hawaiians went through slavery in America, because we understand that the Native Americans, they escaped slavery or they killed themselves. We understand that, correct? They didn't stay in slavery. They're like, no, we ain't having this mess. We understand the land. We're going to fight. We're going to run away. We're going to hide. Okay. Why am I getting to all of this? Some of you are like, okay, what's the big point here? First of all, we need to be educated about what really is a minority, a person of color, and an immigrant, because we get lost in the sauce. So now let's break down what the really point I'm getting to, okay? What's the really point that I'm getting to? And this is very important, because a lot of you are going to go out and you're going to express your right to vote, which I absolutely support you in you having the right. Not that you must, not that if you don't vote for Joe Biden, it's a vote for Donald Trump. That's silly. That's, matter of fact, that's modern day slavery if you have somebody thinking like that. But anyway, I move on. Lift every voice, the Biden plan for Black America. Okay. What you see here, ladies and gentlemen. This is the plan for Black America. Let me tell you, this is how you get undermined in politics. Increase the opportunities for African American owned businesses to obtain or participate in federal courts. In the aftermath of the 2008-2009 financial crisis, well over $100 billion of federal prime contracting dollars were awarded to minority-owned small businesses. Okay. The Obama administration, I'm right here, also created an interagency task force on federal contracting opportunities for small businesses, which include a focus on contracting opportunities for minority-owned businesses. Okay, minority. Now, here we're talking about money. Here we're talking about funding and resources in the Black American plan by Joe Biden. Increase funding for minority. We understand that this is a plan for Black America, and we understand that a minority is anyone in this country as non-white, also including white women. Then we break that down. I went right to the horse's mouth and showed you, ladies and gentlemen, how this is not a plan for Black America. Now we get into minority-owned business, minority, PPP, minority. We're talking about tangible minority. 98% of all minority and women-owned business. See, white women. We understand that minority is not male of non-white specifically, right? So why would you put minority and women-owned businesses? in the Black Lift Every Voice plan, because he's talking about white women, because people of color, minority is simonious. It is not gender specific. It's both male and female. So why would you put minority dash and women? Because he's talking about white women. Okay, I digress, because we understand this goes through the whole document. So people of color. People of color. Okay, people of color. Let's look into this. Housing communities primarily comprised of people of color. Again, this is Joe Biden's. Lift Every Voice plan for Black America, people of color. We understood what people of America, people of color and minorities are the same, essentially. Let's move on. Here we go. People of color. People of color. This is how you get undermined by politics and the news. People of color, ladies and gentlemen. Minority, here we go again. People of color. People of color. This is what I'm getting at. Now, we talked about people of color. We talked about, and this is the plan for Black America. It should be no minorities or people of color. It should be none of that. Let's get into this. Immigrants. Why is the word immigrants in here? Biden will end the federal government use of private prisons, building off an Obama administration policy rescinded by the Trump administration, and he will make clear that federal government should not use private facilities for any detention, including detention of undocumented immigrants. Wait a minute. This is the plan for Black America. Let me scroll up. It's going to take me a while. Give me a second here, guys. Give me a second. I want to make sure I'm in the same document. This for you guys. I want to make sure I'm in the same document. Give me a second. We're scrolling up. It's a long document full of bull crap. Give me a second. Here we go. Tick tock, 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 tick tock. This is a huge document. It is. And I read all of it a couple of times just to see all the bull crap that's in here. And a lot of people won't read all of this, but I did, because I like to see the tomfoolery in politics. Okay, we're getting close to the top. Here we go. We're getting close. What does it say? Lift Every Voice, the Biden plan for Black America. But we're talking about immigrants, people of color, and minorities. I move on. Donald Trump Platinum Plan. Donald Trump's Platinum Plan. Let me show you the Platinum Plan, President Trump pillars. Okay, let's look into it. I wrote down some notes. Let me get to my notes. Okay. So Donald Trump Platinum Plan. Let's look at this. Where's my Control F when I need it? Oh, there we go. Now, fueling access to capital for Black-owned businesses. Fueling access to capital for Black-owned businesses. Okay, down here, make the Minority Business Development Agency permanent. Whoa. What happened to Black? What happened to African American? We went right into minority. Okay. Let's see here. Grow, look. Black economic empowerment and access to capital. Jobs. Third bullet down, grow minority-owned businesses with additional tax cuts to stimulate higher investment. Once again, everybody's getting reparations, and we need to understand, why is this important? Well, Black people are included too. Well, when I look at a certain government, tells me who the majority of the minority population is: Hispanics, 18.5, African Americans, 13.4. Who's going to get majority of this funding and access? But again, I'm not trying to pander to you. What plan is this? The Platinum Plan, President Trump's pillar, by achieving economic levels for Black Americans. Okay. As our first president to provide long-term funding to historical Black colleges. Okay. Fairness. President Trump works every day to advance a fair and just America for Black communities. Okay. President Trump's promise to Black America over 4 years. Why we got minority in here. Like, I'm just asking, let's look at something else. Wait a minute. I see black here, black there, immigration policy that protects American jobs. Huh. Okay. That's either one or two things. Telling immigrants they can't come to America, or making sure they naturalize and become citizens before they enter America. I'm just showing you the truth, ladies and gentlemen. And you're saying, why is this so important? Because if we're talking about tangible, excuse my language, reparations, access, opportunity, lines of credit, economic empowerment, you understand that the reason why they're offering these plans to us is because we are the ones who have endured in this country, our ancestors, and today, people keep forgetting this, we're still going through modern day lynchings of today, modern day discrimination of today that still extend back to Jim Crow, the pig laws. Let me help you better define the point I'm driving home, okay? Because this is very important for you guys. I believe it is. I believe it is. Let me set up, give me 1 second here. This is very important. So first of all, let's define one thing that a lot of people just love to forego. Let's define one thing here. Let me get back over to my Zoom. Let me share this with you guys. So why is Joe Biden's 1994 crime bill and his 1986 anti-crime bill so important? The large mass incarceration of Black American men, especially, and also Black women. Because the one thing we understand that first and foremost that slavery still exists in this country, because neither slavery nor involuntary solitude, we see that, neither slavery nor involuntary servitude, key word here is except, reading is fundamental, okay? Except as a punishment for crime. So if you incarcerate a Black man for a petty crime like stealing a candy bar, and that's his third strike. Don't forget about the third strike laws for a candy bar. He's going away for life off petty crimes that his counterpart of white descent, of white European Anglo-Saxon descent, does not get the same treatment. But he is going into modern day slavery because neither slavery nor involuntary servitude, okay, meaning you didn't volunteer to serve, but you will be made as a slave and as a servant, except as a punishment of a crime, whereof the party had been duly convicted, shall exist within the United States or any place subject to the jurisdiction. That is why minorities, people of color, and immigrants, those terminologies are so powerful that they take that wordage out. Anything they make, the platinum plan, okay, disrespectful. The Lift Every Voice plan, disrespectful in their names alone, and also in the rhetoric and the bull crap of the non-tangibles and the nothing burgers that they present inside of these plans for us. You see how our resources, you see how our opportunities and so-called reparations are being dispersed with Asians, Hispanics, Native Americans, Pacific Islanders. If atrocities have happened to those groups, they need to fight and fence for themselves, because for the last 60 years, everybody has been feeding off the backs of Blacks once again for access, opportunities, and laws. I'll move on. I'm gonna move on. Let me show you this, because some of you guys don't understand this. So you say Jim Crow. Some of you don't know what Jim Crow is. Don't worry, I got you. Let's go into Jim Crow. Jim Crow laws were a collection of state and local statutes, listen to this, that legalized racial segregation, named after a black minstrel show character, the laws which existed for about 100 years. That's how long Jim Crow laws lasted for. 100 years from the post-Civil War until 1968. They were listen to this, they were meant to marginalize African Americans, not marginalize Hispanics, not marginalize Asians, not marginalize Native Americans, African Americans, by denying them the right to vote, hold jobs, get education, or other opportunities. Those who attempted to defy Jim Crow often faced fines, jail sentences, violence, and death. Oh man, these laws ain't right. Shut up. That's what occurred. Black codes, the roots of Jim Crow laws, began as early as 1865. Ladies and gentlemen, when was slavery abolished and ratified? 1865. Right after slavery, abolishment of slavery, and it was ratified, 1865, Jim Crow laws began, 1865. To undermine, okay, and this is politics, because we understand that politics are the root of laws in this country. Okay. Immediately following the ratification, of the 13th Amendment, which abolished slavery in the United States. That is not true. It was not abolished. We understand the word except in the 13th Amendment. Okay. It will accept slavery, no involuntary, except as a punishment of a crime. So we know that is not true. Jim Crow laws. Jim Crow laws did not affect other minorities in this country. Let me move on, because we understand that it says to marginalize African Americans. I don't see another group. I don't see another group. Let me move on. Let's go to pig laws. You guys familiar with that? Pig laws. Pig laws. Pig codes and pig laws. Okay? After the failure of Reconstruction in 1877 and the removal of black men from political office, Southern states again enacted a series of laws intended, let me blow this up, my apologies. I'm right here. Intended to circumscribe the lives of African Americans. Harsh contract laws penalize anyone attempting to leave a job before an advance had been worked off. Pig laws, listen to this, I'm gonna highlight it for you guys. Unfairly penalize poor African Americans for crime, such as stealing a farm animal, and vagrancy statutes made it a crime to be unemployed. Like, you cannot be unemployed, whereas during time, a lot of white people, other than plantation owners, didn't hire black people. Mass incarceration back to 13th Amendment, which equals slavery. Many misdemeanors or trivial offenses were treated as felonies with harsh sentencing and fines. 1994 crime bill, 1994 crime bill, 3-strike law, 1986 anti-drug bill. Am I getting somewhere? Okay, maybe that's not enough for you guys.
But even after African Americans began to be a part of the political process, the state legislatures of the South passed more and more and more restrictive measures, which were effectively designed to criminalize black life, to make it essentially impossible for any African American man who didn't live under the explicit protection of some white landowner to not be in violation of some law at almost all times. And the kinds of things we're talking about are absurd to modern ears, but it was a crime in the South for a farm worker to walk beside a railroad. It was a crime in the South to speak loudly in the company of white women. It was a crime to sell the products of your farm after dark, almost anywhere in the South. There were reasons, there were sort of odd logics behind almost all of these laws, and none of them said that they applied exclusively to African Americans. But overwhelmingly, they were only ever enforced against African Americans because the explicit intent, when I say the intent was explicit, it was. In the Constitutional Convention of Alabama in 1901, when a new constitution was passed, which effectively ended all black participation in political life and public life in Alabama, the discussions around the drafting of these laws were very open about the intention to make it impossible for black men to participate in mainstream American life in any meaningful way. But the most powerful, the most damaging of all of these laws were the Vagrancy Statutes, where in every southern state it became a crime, or you became a criminal, if you could not prove at any given moment that you were employed. What white Southerners then discovered was that this was also an extraordinarily effective way of intimidating African Americans away from the new civil rights they had obtained as a result of the 13th Amendment and the end of the Civil War. These laws passed to force them back into labor also intimidated them away from the political process, or could be used to intimidate them away from the political process. And so by the end of the 19th century, on the basis of these two strategies of white Southerners, enormous populations of African Americans had been returned to a state of de facto slavery and had been effectively pushed completely, entirely out of the political process, and they would not return for 6 decades.
Interesting, isn't it, ladies and gentlemen? See, if you don't know, then you don't know. This is very important stuff. Now, I have 2 more things to show to you. Now, I'm gonna get out of here, but because I want to drive this point home for you guys who are teetering about voting for a particular candidate, and it really doesn't matter who you vote for. Neither plan is for us. Don't let them catch you with healthcare. Don't let you catch you with education. And these plans are not for us. And you go on their other website, how all the other groups, they give access and research to. But when it comes to us, we're spread thin. We're spread thin, ladies and gentlemen. We are spread absolutely thin. Let's talk about 2 more things here. Let me share this with you.
Charlie's my son.
Reconstruction, 1865 to 1877. The turbulent era following the Civil War, let me blow it up, to reintegrate Southern states from the Confederacy and 4 newly freed slaves into the United States under the administration of President Andrew Johnson in 1865 and 1866. The new Southern state legislature passed restrictive Black codes, not Hispanic codes, not Native American codes, not Asian Pacific Islander codes, Black codes to control the labor and behavior of former slaves and other African Americans. Reconstruction. One more thing. Redlining. How redlining kept Black Americans from home ownership decades ago. And we understand that during the Homestead Act, I pointed this out before, during the Homestead Act, there was 2 Homestead Acts. There was a nationwide that considered mostly the Western states Homestead Act. Then there was a Southern Homestead Act. Both of them undermine Black Americans. Now, the Homestead Act that they had for the Western states, they allowed 15,000 people of African descent, African Americans, to use the Homestead Act out of 4 million people. Okay, majority of that land, we understand, went to white people. Okay, cool. How do you think they got those Black people from their homes? 2 ways: redlining and the Highway Act. First, by dividing their neighborhoods, there were a lot of Black Wall Streets, and then redlining and making certain areas by separating them for opportunities and resources and label them as poor communities, which subjugated their property value going down, raising their taxes. See, ladies and gentlemen, what we need to understand is this. The Red Summer of 1919, that was when the majority of all the Black Wall Streets, plural, there were plenty Black Wall Streets. So let's not just lean to Tulsa, Oklahoma, which got decimated in 1921 by white citizens killing Black people, bombing the city, burning buildings, etc. During the Red Summer of 1919, over 36 major cities in America, white citizens went into Black neighborhoods and all the other Black Wall Streets and did the very same thing with the exception of bombing. But they were killing the citizens. They were hanging and burning the citizens, burning and destroying their businesses and houses. So when someone puts minorities, when somebody put people of color, and when somebody put immigrants inside of a plan that you label for Black America, then I know that you know it's a full bull of crap. And that you are once again, by labeling a plan, pandering to us, and at the same time undermining access, opportunity, and reparations. This is how you want to get the vote, Joe Biden. This is how you want to get the vote, Donald Trump, where your plans are bullshit. And I'm calling you out because none of us foundational Black Americans need to vote for neither candidate, in my opinion, because once again, you see the lies and being undermined time and time again. Here's some key words for you guys that has happened to our people. We've been tortured, mutilated, hung, burned, disenfranchised, marginalized, victimized, under-policed, over-policed, misrepresented, wrongly convicted, discriminated upon, unfair banking and lending practices, systematic racism, living in a system and in a country of white supremacy. This is what I'm talking about, ladies and gentlemen. So when you go, and I'm not telling you not to vote, and you bootleg, busted Black people, and you go and you say your ancestors fought and died for you to vote. First and foremost, I want you to say one thing. I want you to understand one thing. First of all, you don't know if your ancestor fought and died for anything. That's the first thing. You don't know. And quite frankly, they fought and died for the right for you to vote, not that you go and vote. See, Black people in this country, we only have two sources of power. Again, I want to drive this narrative home. We only have two sources of power. One, holding your vote until someone signs legislation, either through an executive order or passing a bill or passing a law that gives us reparations and justice. Not when Barack Obama signed the Blue Shield law, further protecting the police with already in qualified immunity. No, that's not justice for us. We're the marginalized group. We're the over-policed group. Two, boycotting. And the biggest boycott that most people know, and there's been other little small boycotts during that time, was Rosa Parks. Okay, there's some information stating that Rosa Parks wasn't the first person to do it as far as the bus system, but hey, that's another story. The point I'm making is this. That's how Uber became rich. Let me break it down to you. So during that time when we were bus boycotting the Montgomery bus system, Black people with cars were taxiing people back and forth to work. Some people walked, but we stopped using the bus. So you know what the bus system said? They say, hey, I'm one of your constituents. And ever since the Blacks stopped riding the bus, our profits went down considerably. We're thinking that we have to shut down because majority of the Black people didn't have enough money to buy cars, so they rode the bus. So I said, hold up, we're the majority that's riding the bus and you want to discriminate against us? Oh, hell no. We have unity, we have pride, and most importantly, we have financial power. Uh-oh. So they started walking to work. They started taxing people to work. And they almost shut down the Montgomery bus system. Not only did Montgomery stop the discrimination on bus systems, they started hiring Black drivers. Ladies and gentlemen, if you don't understand your power as a foundational Black American in this country, I can't drive this point home any better than this. The only power you have in this is voting and boycotting. Now, we can bring national attention by protesting, by driving home narratives and perspective. But when it comes to real, true power, if every 40 million foundational Black Americans say, here's my vote, Joe Biden, here's my vote, Donald Trump, I am not going to vote until you take out minority and people of color and immigrants from your plan, and then you put actual tangibles in that me and my kids can actually profit from. To not only equal the playing field of justice when it comes to unfair business practices, 3-strike law, people still being in jail for stealing candy bars and lawn equipment. When you eradicate the pig laws and modern day Jim Crow laws for justice, then I want you to decrease the wealth gap that you have increased by the laws that marginalize Black people from obtaining any wealth in this country. Then I'll vote for you. I don't care if you're a racist. Where are our tangibles at? See, something, oh, Donald Trump's a racist. I can tell you right now, ladies and gentlemen, if Donald Trump said, I'm ready to sign this executive order that's going to give 40 million Black Americans $350,000, the amount of money that your ancestors accumulated during slavery of $14 trillion, who will vote for Donald Trump? Exactly. I know you will. If Joe Biden came out and did that, who will vote for Joe Biden? Exactly. I know you will. When all of these organizations are discriminating upon us of hiring us as managers and leaders in their corporation, and then discriminating us with advertising and commercials, making us look dirty, making us look like buffoons and chimps and all of that stuff, what if we all stop buying from that organization? Think about it. So, ladies and gentlemen, I just want to leave you with that, because we need to have a magnifying glass on everything that comes out. We don't need to read with our ears and not with our eyes. We need to have a trifecta: brain, eyes, and ears. Brain, eyes, and ears. That's when you read. You should be looking and listening and understanding. Like, hold up. Black America, people of color, minority, who's this for? Thank you, Lindell Moore, for your donation. I appreciate that. I appreciate that, Lindell. Nice to see you, Wendell, M. Limpkin, all you good guys. Simon Diamond Satisfied. Glad to see you guys in the chat. This is Financial Literacy 101. And if you're new to this channel, please like and share and subscribe to the channel and share with other people, because the reason why I turned Financial Literacy 101 And I still give great information about investing and savings and getting out of debt and raising your credit score. But this is the time for us to start speaking up and standing out. And I want to tell you guys all this one thing. Slavery was the number one reason, is the number one reason why America is rich and powerful. They have accumulated over $14 trillion that was passed down generationally, and people and immigrants come to this country and they say, why are blacks still doing bad? Well, you need to look at all the laws that you guys know nothing about. So if I'm an immigrant to another country, if I move to Africa, if I move to the Caribbean, I'm not going to go over there and say, why are you guys still doing bad? The colonizers left. First and foremost, I need to shut the hell up. I need to read. I need to talk to the people before I say anything about those guys in their country and all the racism and discrimination they're still handling today. That's a message to all of you immigrants and people who don't know nothing about the black struggle in this America. Hopefully you take it in kind and not as an attack. This is Financial Literacy 101. Learn money and be inspired. You guys have a great and wonderful day. And I'll see you later on tonight at 7 p.m. Central, or maybe 6. I'm out.